Welcome.
Thanks.
So we're going to be talking about the future of media and advertising, and I want to start off with an issue that we touched on earlier today, which is the possibility that the mix of advertising and promotion might change.
Right.
I think I made some comments about that, having seen that happen in CPG, and then I know when we were chatting earlier, you said that Irwin Gottlieb had made the reference to the same shift of 70-30 advertising to 30-70 in favor of price and promotion. What do you think is likely to happen? What's the role of digital going to be in that?
Well, I think, I'm a huge believer in the power of advertising, and I understand everything that's gone on in the way consumers have been re-educated to buy through price, and I understand through technology how we've given them a lot of tools to comparison shop and to make price a real driver of their choice. But equally, I really understand that that advertising in the largest context is there's an enormous amount of upside, and I think there's a huge opportunity for advertising to grow its share of the marketing pie. And the thing that gives me confidence about that is the extent to which it is under-optimized today. And so if you just take, if you just take everything we see anecdotally about how when advertising, by advertising I mean the content and the distribution of that, and how technology and data is used to fuel those things, when those things come together, the exponential performance is there. And I've seen it through the collection of anecdotal evidence as I look at measurement both within silos and across silos over the last decade, 15, 16 years. I've seen enough anecdotal evidence to give me faith that as we use technology and data to kind of re-aggregate advertising and the advertising ecosystem from the silos that it's been breaking into over the last 10 or 15 years, that there is an enormous amount of upside in performance overall.
So you're very bullish
I'm very
on the
bullish.
future of advertising.
I'm very bullish.
Now, you're obviously heavily involved in video. What do you see happening in the future between video and television? Is it a competition, or is it synergy? What do you think is going to happen there?
I mean, it's total synergy. And so, everybody in this room and everybody in our space knows and believes that the world of every television and every screen being IP addressable is upon us in the not too distant future. We'll talk about what that means. And we're also understanding that there is, in the legacy world of linear television, that technology will ultimately evolve so those screens can be made addressable and targetable in ever increasing ways. So if you all accept that that is a journey we're on, and that's not going to happen this year, and it may not happen in 5 years. This could be a 5 to 10 year process. So if you accept that that's the journey that we're on, and we really are moving towards the era of true cross-channel, cross-screen optimization and management of all of these media investments, if that is upon us, then the immediate question is, so that gives me a lot of confidence about the future, then the immediate question becomes, well, what are we doing today? What are we doing? So that's the perfect world we're describing. What are we doing to make the most of the incredible collection of assets we have today in this imperfect world, to bring those together to drive much better decisioning and drive much more return on investment from the money that's been spent today?
Now, if you take all of the time spent watching video today and say what percentage of the time spent watching television is it equivalent to, it comes out to be about 5%.
Right.
So it's pretty small still,
yeah, and it's
right?
You're right.
But growing,
growing.
Rapidly. But do you think in the future what's viewed through an internet-based connection is going to be long form or short form, and how is that going to?
I mean, it's going to be all form, and I have a really hard time getting passionate about linear versus digital, or long form versus short form, because I really kind of do look at the thing holistically, and I think there's incredible value across all of those screens and formats. The challenge is really getting into the world of understanding what is the differential value between one of those things and another. How do they contribute overall to the holistic performance of marketing? And then so we can increasingly grow our understanding of what levers to pull, or levers, as we like to say in America, what levers to pull to really drive performance over time.
So you think that the short form viewing is going to increase
I think
as a share of total?
I mean, of course it will, but the main thing is the mix of short form and long form will be whatever consumers decide it's going to be, and that will be a range of things, and that will be consumer defined, and I predict within that we'll see more short form content, but I'm not passionately advocating for that either. I'm here ready to follow the consumers on that journey and try and help make the most of how we perform, regardless of what length of content they decide to consume.
So if you look at the ad loads that are being carried today
Yeah.
on the short form versus long form digital content,
Yeah.
it's only about 5% on
Yeah.
the ad loads on the short form content. It's about running, according to our data, about 15% on the long form,
Yeah.
and television is running at 25.
Right.
What do you think that long form, the short form load factor will be 5 years from now?
Well, I think the true answer is I don't know. I think the people who are looking to monetize that content will need to be very careful in understanding what drives, what's going to maximize their ability to monetize it. And so if you look at what really drives ROI, differential ROI in different video formats, a lot of it is a function of the size of the screen can equal intimacy. So I'll get attention on a small screen versus distraction sometimes on a big screen. It's ad loads, it's targeting, it's engagement, and it's the intimacy of the viewing experience. I think they're the big components of what drives return on investment from a video view. And so then the question becomes, if I load up my short form video content or my mobile viewing content, if I start to pile on the ad loads, I think you're going to start to see an erosion of performance. And so it's really going to be what's the right blend for the seller of that, what's the right blend to maximize the return they can get, and also to delight the consumer who's watching it. That's going to be the balancing act that they're going to have to address, and we're going to have to help them manage.
But you are bullish on ad revenue coming from short form content.
I am absolutely bullish on ad revenue coming from short form content.
Now, let's then shift to the long form content for a second. There's a lot of talk today about the production of long form shows, if you will, for want of a better word, that's paid for and produced by folks other than the studios or the networks. Mm-hmm. And they seem to cite always the ones that have worked well, and it seems to me ignore the cost of producing the stuff that doesn't work well, right? Yeah. Do you think that we're going to see the emergence of content produced by a whole range of companies beyond the studios and the networks in the future?
Well, we're already seeing that. I mean, I think that that ship has sailed, and it's continuing to sail. And I think that's an exciting development. I think it takes a lot of there's a reason. It takes a big checkbook and a lot of fortitude to be in the big C content business. In the big professionally produced stuff. You can make a lot of money and lose a lot of money really, really quickly, which is one of the reasons the content owners have held together the kind of the video distribution ecosystem and the cable model and the bundle model. The extent to which they have is because it's a really hard thing to do successfully.
Right, the failure rate is really high, right?
And they're really expensive failures.
They haven't, speaking from a research perspective, nobody has figured out how to accurately predict what the consumer is going to like with a new show or a new movie, right?
Yeah. And as a former creative person, I love that. I love that the data geeks like that. That's the world. I love that we can't figure that out. I love that there continues to be creativity and artistic leadership that goes into the magic of what makes video. I think the real question will be as these millennials grow up, as these kids grow up who have started to get more comfortable consuming less professionally produced content, will the economics start to evolve and change over time as kind of generations move through? Because I don't like to get a lot of my content from YouTube. I still like going to Hulu and Netflix, and I still like watching NBC. But kids who are 20 years younger than me, they've got a very different relationship to content quality and format. And so as that starts to reach more and more scale, that will be the big question about whether, the extent to which that will have an impact on the larger economics of content production and creation.